Gaza has had a significant impact on the general election here in the UK, and despite a resounding Labour victory, the party suffered deeply in some of its key states, and that matters. 5 Labour MPs, including 2 shadow cabinet ministers, were defeated by candidates running on pro-Palestine positions, with several other MPs narrowly holding on to their seats in often angry and bitterly divided electorates. But one of the biggest stories is that of the British Muslim vote. They've sent a very clear message to Labour: you no longer represent us. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at the numbers. The Labour Party more than doubled its seats in Parliament, from 202 in 2019 to 412 today. But overall, it only managed to get 1.8% more of the vote. And that's because in some of its safest seats, it lost a lot of support. The most significant and high profile was Islington North, where former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn was suspended and banned from running as a Labour candidate. As a long-time Palestine advocate, Corbyn held onto his seat as an independent with a stunning 49% victory.
And if I may say so, they're also looking for a government that on the world stage will search for peace, not war, and not allow the terrible conditions to go on that are happening in Gaza at the present time. So this was a grassroots campaign that isn't going to disappear, isn't going to go away.
In Leicester South, Jonathan Ashworth, the shadow cabinet office minister, was narrowly defeated by another independent running on a pro-Gaza platform, Shaukat Adam.
We as a city are a shining example to the rest of the world that is the people that matter, not the people that rule over. This is for the people of Gaza.
Labour lost more than 35% of its support in that seat, likely thanks to a big Muslim voter turnout, who helped Adam secure a narrow victory of less than 1,000 votes. In Bristol Central, another shadow Labour minister, Tangham Debonair, was brutally defeated by the leader of the Green Party, Carla Denyer, who'd campaigned on ending arms sales to Israel. 3 other independent candidates managed to overturn Labour majorities in Blackburn, Dewsbury and Batley, and Birmingham Perry Barr. And that's despite the MPs in these seats voting in favour of a ceasefire in Gaza back in November. And that's where things get interesting. If we look at seats with a large British Muslim voter base, there's a clear pattern and a clear message.
And this victory is not only for the residents of the Perry Barr constituency, but it's for the martyrs, the children.
These include global injustices, illegal wars, and the killing of innocent people in Gaza and elsewhere.
I said, we can't ever forget the reality. We are here on the back of a genocide. And if that's giving us the opportunity to unite our communities, then we must grasp it, we must take it, we must snatch it with both hands.
In 32 seats with more than 20% Muslim constituency, Labour, on average, lost 24% of its support when compared to 2019. And in 14 of these seats that Labour retained, an independent candidate wasn't far behind. In fact, some key Labour figures came dangerously close to being unseated. The most significant is Wes Streeting, Labour's shadow health secretary, who won by just 528 votes against 23-year-old Palestinian activist Leanne Mohammed. Shabana Mahmood, Labour's shadow justice secretary, won her seat but lost 40% of her support to controversial TikTok lawyer Ahmed Yaqub. Perhaps the most surprising was the breathlessly narrow victory of Bradford West MP Naz Shah, who back in November had stepped down from her position as a front bench shadow minister with the Labour Party over the party's position on Gaza. Despite being vocal on Palestinian issues, Shah won with a margin of just 700 votes, in a seat she'd held comfortably since 2015. This speaks to the overwhelming frustration of British Muslim voters going into this election, deeply upset by the public positions of Labour and its leadership on Gaza, an issue that at times created bitter rifts in some of these communities.
What we've seen over the last 4 weeks has been unbelievable. I can't believe that that kind of filth is within our community.
Overtones of misogyny, hatred, threatened violence. One of my activists, who was a woman, had her tyres slashed today. Another woman constantly being filmed while she's walking down the street.
You know, I'm used to the far right attacking me. I'm used to, you know, somebody going to prison for threatening to kill me and my family. That's different. What I see here and what worries me is where that political debate has got to in terms of me being out in my constituency and that anger spewing out like that towards me from a fellow Muslim brother.
But the other major lesson to be drawn from this is that the campaign efforts by Muslim-led organizations like the Muslim Vote to turn that frustration into a viable and noticeable voter bloc made its mark.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Palestine will be free!
In a number of traditionally safe Labour seats, Labour MPs struggled to get their communities across the line. And now they have to contend with Muslim constituents that have figured out how to use their vote effectively to send a message. And that will no doubt reverberate all the way up to the office of a new Prime Minister, who now has to not only figure out how to secure his majority in Parliament, but how to form a government and what that government is going to do about Israel and the ongoing war in Gaza.